Hey guys, how's it going? This is Jackson Loves the Piano here. Welcome to a new video here on the Jackson Loves Piano channel. I'm hoping to do a lot more of these like long form videos here. So I'll be sure to link it on my Instagram to where you can come watch it here on YouTube. And this is gonna be a lot more of my long form videos. Any videos of me playing at church, more of those long form stuff I'm gonna put on here. And then Instagram is going to be more my short form content to where I put like short form videos of me playing stuff, stuff like that. So this is going to be the first of a long form video that I'm super excited to talk about. And in today's video, what I wanted to talk about is the role of a keys player in a worship band. And I think this is a very big topic that is talked about in the worship scene about like when a team is choosing a keys player for their worship team, and it's kind of about finding the right person that can fit the role of the keys player and like what they can do well and what they can improve on, and just a lot of different things. And especially for a keys player, looking to see if they know about specific things and if they're well versed in that. And if they are, it's a big help for just a keys player in general. So today I want to go over that. I'm going to talk about just in general, what are the things you should know as a worship keys player, and just specifically the role of a keys player in a worship band, and like what to be looking for when, like, say if you're wanting to audition for a band as a keys player, what you can improve on and what you can work on, so that when you audition for a team, you have all the skill sets ready to go and that you are just ready for that worship team. So I'm going to give off a little bit of inspiration. So I'll talk about my journey as a worship keys player and what I've been improving on, and just overall like the things that I have learned so that maybe I can teach you guys about some of that stuff. But to start off, I'm going to talk about my journey as a keys player and how I've started. So for me, I started playing piano in 2022, in a time where I was homeschooled, so I was not doing much outside of school, and I kind of just wanted to just take the time to kind of sit down and learn piano, and that's what I did. Is I started looking up YouTube videos. I started looking up tutorials on how to play piano, and kind of teaching myself. So that's what I did a lot. I didn't take any music lessons, except for like a little bit that I took for like a few weeks, but just didn't work out the way I wanted it to. So I ended up just learning by myself. And I think that was probably the best choice I made, because it just gave me time, with my own schedule and just everything I had to just sit down and play piano at my own time, at my own level, and not having to rely on a book or anything. I could just kind of sit down and learn myself. And for about a few months, I really got the hang of like figuring out the notes on the piano and figuring out everything like that and getting into the notes in a scale, chords, and all that stuff. And like that is what got me so into just playing piano at a scale that I can today. Then in the year 2023, once I started to get a really good hang of the piano and all the skills that it comes with it, I then auditioned for my first worship team on piano, at my church. And now at that church, I was originally doing vocals, so I was already a part of the team. So for then, it was just adding on a new skill for me with piano. And to start off, I recall my first ever service on piano was in June of that year. And I was very much just doing basic root chords with like one finger right here. So, say for example, like one of the songs I did was Trust in God by Elevation Worship. In the key of C, I was just doing like root chords like these with just my thumb doing the bass note down here. So it was very much just like basic piano playing for the time. And obviously starting out, that was fine, especially because like, I was still getting the hang of piano, I was still getting the hang of playing in a band, which is something that I never really did before. So that was kind of what started to get me more involved into that. And then over the months, as I continued to work on my craft, I started to learn more about inversions and starting to play with those and just kind of getting the hang of playing inversions and starting to learn more about how they work. And as I started to learn about them a little bit more and start actually playing them, I then started to make inversions pretty much the entire thing I would do when I was playing piano, and that drastically improved my piano playing skills. Like I could recall one service I did, which was in February of 2024. I did the song "More Than Able," in the key of E flat, and I can just recall like during that time, like I was playing like root. I was playing some root chords, but for the most part, I was playing I was playing inversions of stuff. So like I was doing a like a C minor chord, like I was playing it like I was playing like this, and then like B flat, and then A flat. I was playing it like that. Kind of all these different different finger inversions for the chords, and it just drastically improved the way that I was able to play worship music, and it just made my ability to play so much better. And from there, I just continued to keep improving my craft. Then in February of 2025, I ultimately ended up leaving my church and going to a different one. And then I auditioned for that church in May of 2020. In May of 2025, excuse me. And that church had a lot different, like I had a lot different view um, in in key stuff at that time. So for my old church, they had a Nord. So like I was running all the Nord stuff off of that, all the sounds, pads, everything like that. The church I'm at currently now, which I play piano at, is all MIDI stuff. So it's all MIDI keyboard that I play on, computer running Ableton. So I was running all my sounds and my pads and stuff off of there. So that was a new learning curve that I had to get used to. Um, with learning all of that, and it definitely took a lot of time, especially just with figuring that all out and kind of not really understanding it at first and kind of getting the hang of it. But after a few months, I was completely well versed in it. I loved using MIDI keyboards with Ableton stuff because it just opened up a lot of creativity with a lot of different things. And now I feel like, especially building out my own set now with Ableton and having all the gear, like this controller right here that connects all my stuff, having this keyboard down here, which is a MIDI keyboard, just kind of helped so much with getting me so involved in the world of MIDI keyboards and Ableton and all that stuff. And now I can confidently say, like, I feel so much more confident in my playing, just my ability to do different inversions for chords and stuff. Um, and just being confident with stuff and learning my parts and just being confident on a worship team with the different skills I have. So that's a rough little history. I don't want to go into too much detail with it because it's going to take up a majority of this video, and I want to keep it kind of short. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the things that I recommend you should know as a worship keys player. And the first thing that I'm instantly going to say is you need to learn how to play in all 12 keys. There is nothing worse than only knowing how to play in one key and having a set where you have to jump around in a lot of different keys. So say for example, I only knew how to play in the key of D, right? And let's say your first song's in the key of A. Now you're having to transpose that down. So it's like for me, it's like if I'm in the key of D, you have to go down to like minus, let me think, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like you have to go down like -6. Well, that's in the key of A flat, so you have to go like -5. Now I'm playing in the key of D, so if you see it down here, now I'm playing in the key of D, but it's in the key of A. So then now, like let's say your next song is in the key of E flat. Now you got to push that up +1. Now I'm in the key of E flat, and then your next song is in the key of B flat. So it's like it's just the ability to like transposing is easy. Like everyone can get the hang of it, and it's super easy to get the hang of. But I think it's so much easier and so much better to be able to have all 12 keys memorized and being able to play in them, because it just makes it so much easier to just go with it. So it's like, oh, your next key's in the key of G flat. It's so nice to be able to like know all 12 keys, all the chords in them, and being able to adapt to anything that you need to do, especially because like let's say you're in a song, right? You're in a song in the key of F sharp, and then the worship leader goes to a different key. Then you have to be quick to transpose it, if you're like confident with that. If you're not, then you're just going to be stuck playing something in the wrong key, and it's gonna sound off, and the congregation is gonna get distracted by that. So I think the main thing that you need to know is you need to know all 12 keys. And obviously, like, everyone is going to be different in the time it takes to practice. No one is going to be the same in terms of having time to practice outside of church and stuff like that. So like I totally get that. But if you can before you audition, take the time to drill all 12 keys and be confident in that, then you're going to be such a good piano player in the ability to adapt to certain things when you need to, and just being confident when you play and knowing that you're not going to mess up on a key because you're confident playing in that. So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing that you should know is you need to know your inversions. And I think this is a must for just every piano player in general. So not just worship pianists, but also like jazz pianists, classical pianists, all that type of stuff, gospel pianists. Like you need to know your inversions. And the main reason why is because it just makes piano playing so much easier and just so much more like understandable. So like even for me, like playing in the key of A, the fact that I can go through all of these inversions. So like, look, I'm gonna go through a progression: 1, 4, 5, and then 6. Like just being able to do all of that without having to move my hand like across the keyboard is such a viable and such a good ability and tool to be able to have. It just makes it to where you can focus more on, you don't have to focus on your hands like jumping around. You can focus on the notes you play and being confident in the melodies that you can add in. Like that's the biggest thing. And that's the thing I love about inversions, is the fact that I could literally just be looking around somewhere else and being confident in what I play because I know my inversions. And I don't have to worry about looking down at my hands. And this is especially crucial for if you're at a church where you come up after the pastor's message and you're playing behind them. If you know your inversions well, you can focus on what the pastor is saying, and you can, go up with the dynamics of it. So if like he's having a really powerful part of his message and you need to go up with him, you can add in those dynamics even with your inversion. So like a walk up, like a 3, 4, 5, and then 6, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or if he's doing like if he's doing a mellow part of the message and you need to bring it down, you can go like 6, 2, 4, 5, 6, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, something like that. Kind of just adding in these different chords and having the ability to know your inversions just makes it like so good. So it makes it so viable to be able to use your inversions to add to the moment and kind of add your different hand positions and stuff like that. And then lastly, the third thing I will say is knowing the right times to play high on the keyboard, play in the middle, and go low. So this is something that I've had to learn, especially being a keys player, is not treading on the other instruments. So specifically, I'm talking more about bass players. So obviously, you have your low notes down there, and it's like, it's there for certain moments when you need it. But I think as a keys player, it's just important that you stay in a position where you don't tread on the bass player's notes. So I would say anything below here should be left for the bass. So like, anything from like here down. So like all those notes down here, I would recommend just leaving for the bass player, unless you're in a moment where it's just you playing and you want to add in some depth down here. So like, for example, if it's like you're doing a down chorus or something, so say for example I'm doing the chorus of center. So like you can go like, you be the center of it all, my heart belongs to you, my Savior, all in all, you're the one I hold on to for the beauty of. Like for that, if you want to add in those low notes just to kind of add a little bit of depth to it, like in those low moments, that's totally fine. But like, say for example, like in a big part of a song, so like the big bridge or something, if you're just constantly like living down here, Like for example, if you're just living down here the entire time, you're treading on the bass player, which is like the main reason like that the bass player is there, so that they can add in these low notes and do some stuff with that. Now, like it's okay for like if you want to do something like this, in my whole life for your glory, my whole for you only everything for the honor of your So you see, for most of those, what I did is I went down low and hit it once. That's totally fine to do that if you want to add in that like little depth there, but you shouldn't be like living in this area like for the majority of the song. Like I would recommend staying up in the middle, in like the middle area. So like the middle area of the piano is a great place to be living in because it means like you're gonna be heard well in the mix, and you have like the best range of notes to be hitting. And then like there's certain moments where if you need to go high, like you can if you need to. And like, I think like in terms of low and high, it's best to go low when it's just you playing and you want to add in some of those low notes. If you want to go high, I think that's nice for like, if there's a moment where the worship leader wants you to play out and you want to do some like real pretty stuff. So something like that in like those moments where the worship leader wants you to play out is great and is a great moment to use it. But I think for majority of the time, you should be living here in this middle area. So something from like here all the way to like here. I think that's a perfect like here to here. I think is like a perfect place to be living. So that means a lot more of like a lot more of the 1 and the 5 in your left hand, and then like like chords that are kind of around that area, just to keep it super simple. And that's a lot. It's a lot of that. So, and it kind of ties in with the fact of keeping like you're playing super simple. And this is also something I've had to learn as well. Is like you don't have to go crazy on the notes that you play, or like adding in all this stuff to look cool or anything like that. Like if the moment calls for you to just be playing some normal block chords and just keeping it really simple with what you play, that works because it just keeps the moment really mellow, really low, and it can add a lot to the moment. Like for example, like if you're like again playing behind a pastor, or even like an altar call moment where like people are coming up to the altar to pray, and stuff like that. Like it's nice to just keep it simple. Like bring it back on what you play. Don't go too crazy. Like don't be like doing this stuff like in an altar call moment. Don't be like something like that during an altar call is kind of just not. It doesn't fit the moment. Like it's best like just to keep it simple like this. And if you want to like at certain moments add in those little embellishments in there, that's totally okay. And that like if you do it like every so often, that's okay. But if you're doing it like every bar, then like it just doesn't really fit the moment. Like you kind of you're there, and this is going into the next part, which is like what is the role of the keys player? And there's a lot of things the keys player does. And in terms of the entire band as a whole, the keys player is there to lay down a foundation, like lay down the blanket of the song. And typically in CCM worship, The keys player is mostly the one that runs like the pads in the background. They're typically the one that lays down like those warm dark pads, those little blankets of warmth to the song. So like say for example, like I have my pad, right? So like I churn up my pad. Even something like that where you just turn the piano down, and you just let that pad like just be the thing that sits in the background. Like something like this in a moment where you're playing behind the pastor is great. This is like easily one of the best things you can do for a moment playing behind the pastor is just, maybe turning down the piano a little bit and just keeping the moment mellow and just letting that pad be the thing that sits in the background. And this is something that I had to like learn about is like the best times to just be using a pad like that, or like in a moment where you need to bring in the piano, you can do that like when the pastor is like going off on a certain moment, and like he wants the energy to come up in that moment. Then it's like, okay, then you can bring in that piano, maybe open up the filter on your pad a little bit, kind of like bring in the energy because that moment is calling for the energy to come up. So it's like it's really following along with the pastor in those certain moments. And this is kind of a role that a keys player is filling, is like in those moments where you're playing behind the pastor, is filling in that role of letting that music and those notes come in to support the pastor and to give people the ability to meet Jesus in that moment. And I think it's like if you find a really nice progression, that can work so well, and it's going to make the moment work so well. Now, the one thing I would recommend is when you're playing a progression, don't be adding in like little melody notes. Like say for example, if I play the progression, like the chorus progression of Who Else, so key of A flat, right? So turn down the pad. So if I'm doing this during the message, like if I'm doing that during his message, the one thing that's going to happen is, melodies, because they're so catchy, is that people are going to catch on to that and they're going to listen to it and they're going to replay it back in their heads, which is taking people away from the message and distracting them on the song that you're playing. So in that moment, like again, if you just keep the like just whole chords, letting that pad be the thing that sits in the background, like just letting that pad sit in the background and just carry the moment is the best thing that you can do to support the pastor. So this is easily what I recommend for like the role of a keys player in a moment of in the moment of a pastor preaching or an altar call moment, is kind of just letting that pad sit in the mix and like keeping your piano kind of low but like still present. And then like in the moments where you need to build up, or where we start to bring the dynamics up in the song, then you can start to bring the piano in, maybe open up the filter on your pad a little bit and let it sit in that moment. And that's when you can then start to play out a little bit more, add in some stuff. But I think in a moment where it's really low and intimate, it's best to just let a pad sit and just kind of whole chord it out and let the moment like go as that. But kind of getting off track and going back into that conversation. So yeah, the role of the keys player is to fill in the foundation of a song and to add in that warmth and add in that warmth and those like little melody notes in a song. So obviously in the band, every instrument has a role. The bass player is there to give the little low notes in a song, to add in the little depth of a song. The electric guitar player is there to add in those atmospheric stuff and add in, those atmospheric swells and those little notes that they can add in. The acoustic guitar player is there to add in some rhythm with the strumming. The drums are there to add in some rhythm with the different like snares and stuff like that. But the keys player is really there to just add in the warmth and complement the moment with those pads and with those piano sounds to add in the little stuff in there. And I think it's really important as a keys player to be to be to know what the moment is looking like. Like it's really important to like maybe in your mix have the pastor up a little bit and stuff like that. I think it's really important to be focusing on that and being cautious of what the moment is looking like, because if you're playing certain stuff in the moment where it doesn't call for it, then it's making it very distracting, and it's going to make the moment not work the way it should. And so that's pretty much the role of a keys player. And obviously, there's a lot of other roles as a keys player for what you need to be focusing on. Um, and as a keys player, you feel you're feeling a really important like opening for the band, and it's really important to be doing stuff like that. So yeah, again, kind of going back on it. So the role of a keys player is you're creating that warm atmosphere. So with your pads and stuff like that is filling in those gaps and creating that blanket of sound, as I mentioned, to kind of fill in the role of what is needed in the moment to add in that type of stuff. And then you're also adding in those chords into the song. So like as you come in, you're adding in the structure so of the chords that you play, adding in the rhythm of notes that you play, the combination of notes in the chord that you're playing to add in the atmosphere, especially in the moments where you don't have a guitar player in there and it's just you. Best moment to be adding that stuff in. Um, and it's really nice to just be having all of that type of stuff as a keys player. So that is the biggest tips I can give as a keys player. And just overall, like I would say the biggest tip as a keys player is, and the biggest thing I would recommend is just to be actively like listening. So listen into the sermon when you're playing behind and follow the dynamics of the pastor. Listen into what the worship leader wants and what the music director wants, and go with what they are wanting in the moment. Like if they want it to be low and intimate, keep it that way. If they want to bring up the dynamics, then you can start to bring in some little like arpeggiated stuff, or even just some like more pulsing on chords if you need to in certain moments. But it's really just being listening to people and just being active with what you do, and that is going to bring your piano playing skills to another level. And um, before we end out, I think the biggest thing I can recommend to you and that I can inspire you with is just play with confidence. Like be confident in what you're playing, be confident in the chords that you do, and be confident with the parts that you come prepared with. And I think that with those things, you can bring the entire things that you play to a whole nother level. And it's gonna make your piano playing skills that much better than what you currently do right now. So that is what I'm going to leave you guys with today. I hope you guys did enjoy this pretty long video, but hopefully inspiring and very informative video on just the role of a keys player. And I hope you take away this video with something. And I hope this inspires you when you audition for your next team, that you can learn some stuff from this. So other than that, be sure to comment down below what you thought of this video. Let me know what you guys think is the best role of a keys player and any tips that you guys have come up with. And I'll be sure to talk about those in my Instagram stories and kind of add some more depth into that. But other than that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day or week. I will see you guys in the next video.